Right, so we're now going to talk with this panel about people and the importance of community over product when it comes to UGC, content creation, and so on. So I'll let the panel introduce yourselves. If you could tell us your name and a little bit about your business, that'd be great. With
Hi.
you, Matt.
Yeah, hi. You can tell from my age, I'm an expert in influencer marketing. So I'm a founder of a company called Dizio. We are a data and analytics platform for influencer marketing. So we help brands and agencies track the performance of their influencer marketing and their ROI. We have a separate product called Shopfluence, which helps e-commerce brands automate and scale their influencer gifting programs from finding influencers through to tracking all the content and all the sales.
Hi, my name is Kelvin. I'm the head of brand at a sports lifestyle brand called Art of Football. We essentially create garments that take your passion for football and express them through fan wear, quite like the shirt I'm wearing now. Yeah, we work with a number of clubs across the Premier League, Championship and abroad officially now, and yeah, deliver merchandise reactively to fan bases across the UK and abroad.
I'm Lizzie. I'm the founder of Oni Curls, which is a direct-to-consumer curly hair brand. My story is actually a little like Michelle, who spoke earlier. I spotted a gap in the market for sort of wavy curly hair like my own, and decided to go ahead and create my own product range. And really our USP has been the fact that when you have curly hair, you're constantly battling something called frizz. So really supporting our customer with that. So not just selling the product and letting them get on with it. There's so many touch points along the way. And for us, like that customer focus is really what has driven the growth of our brand.
Great. So we'll come to you first, Matt. If you could tell us about what you do with Dizio and particularly how you can encourage influencers to create authentic content that represents the brand and represents consumers effectively.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we help brands find influencers and manage programs at scale. So working with lots of micro influencers. For me, the important thing about authentic content is what story do you want the influencers and creators to tell about your product? So it's about creating an amazing brief that talks about your product, talks about your features, but gives them a framework to create inspiring content. And don't give them loads of mandatories like, you know, you have to say this, you have to do that. You basically want to give them the option to create content that really resonates with their audience. They know their audience more than you do. So that's my advice on that.
And so when you talk about community, I think a lot of people always think about customers as a community, but you obviously refer to micro-influencers as a community as well, which it is. So how do you suggest people build an engaged community of micro-influencers that are talking about the brand?
The most important thing is just to test. So as one of my board directors says, you need to kiss a lot of frogs to find the prince. So, basically, micro-influencers are amazing at having niche audiences that are highly engaged, but you've got to find the ones that work for your brand. So try different types of creators, try different types of niches, test out different content briefs, test out different products, find the ones that are your rising stars, and then basically build those into a program that you can then find similar influencers who are like that. So what works for you, what offers work, and then through that, look to find tools, like our tools, to manage those communities, because it gets super hard if you're working with. So some of our brands are managing thousands of people within their communities. So you need tools to manage your database, to track your data, to be able to get content briefs out to them, and be able to see what's working and what's not working.
Fantastic, and Dizio is an amazing gifting platform. So shout out to you. Kelvin, speaking about the art of football, the brand has worked with footballers like Jill Scott and Thierry Henry, just to name a few. So could you tell us how you go about initiating relationships like this? What is that process like?
Yeah, honestly, like we're learning as we go along, but we have a two-pronged sort of approach. So the first prong is through working with sportswear brands like your Pumas, like your Nikes, your Adidases. They recognize Art of Football, have a unique take on football culture and expressing moments that make people kind of fall in love with the game onto garments that make them look and feel good in any sort of space. And so they will come to us and say, we've got access with X player and we would really like you to create an item of merchandise for them, and then we'll be able to do that. So Puma came to us to create a drill top with Thierry Henry, gave us 2 weeks notice, and yeah, we essentially created that drill top. We redesigned the Puma King boot, But then the way in which we created the content was, how can we make Thierry feel authentic to football fans? So like we got him on a stage and had 2 goats in front of him, because football always talks about goats, but there's only ever one king. Safe to say, his agents didn't know that he was going to meet 2 goats basically looking at him in the studio, and he nearly canned the whole shoot. But because there was a reference to football culture, people got it, and that was what made it feel authentic. And then the second route is more, every single player, yes, they are aspirational, we all look up to them, but they all started off as fans, right? And so if you're able to, again, capture those moments when they were fans that speak to a version of football they buy into, for example, the women's game and the growth of the women's game, then their connection to the content you create is so much more, has so much more depth to it. And so that's how we've been able to build authentic connections with people in the women's game, as well as big players across the men's game.
And I know we spoke before about how these relationships were really genuine. You didn't actually have to pay for them. So do you have any other examples, particularly in the women's game, where you've kind of had similar opportunities?
Yeah, you'll come to know that our brand is like proper on the ground, and like we like taking a lot of risks. And one of the big risks we took is we decided to take a small team out to Australia for the Women's World Cup, because we felt like a lot of brands, you know, pay a lot of lip service to supporting the women's game, but when the costs start to occur, then step a bit further back. And so we took a blank button down and we embroidered moments from the tournament as it happened, because we wanted to see what this tournament would reflect for the women's football community. And what we saw from that was, this was a tournament of so many first times in which women were scoring or women were representing their nations at the tournament. And the garment had a story that was being attached to it, and everybody was really following it as the tournament went on. Anyways, we ended up getting a message from Leah Williamson, who was following the story as it went on, and she was flying in to see the Lionesses play in the final, and she wanted to have one, and she wanted to create some authentic content, and she did so because she said, what you're doing is helping fans across the world experience like why it's so important that women's football gets this platform. And you're doing it in a way that, one, like, you aren't paying as much as the bigger brands should be, and then 2, it feels really authentic. And so we were able to get that moment with them, and that's usually brands pay so much more money for, but I think there's still a space for authentic on-the-ground marketing that feels like it can resonate with the fan community.
Amazing. I would love to have been a fly on the wall in the Thierry Henry shoot, but moving. Lizzie, on to talking about Oni Curls. Can you tell us how you built your incredible community?
Yeah, definitely. I think with Oni Curls, a lot of it has been luck. I was speaking to someone earlier, I think it was right idea, right time has helped us. And one of those things that was the timing-wise was starting it when Instagram was still in the phase where influencers were still trusted. I think now, and influencers, it was just kind of 2016, I think the sort of algorithm was different, your own feed was different, and we were able to gift, also because it's a low-cost product, we would just gift, and I say we, I started the brand with my husband, we would just gift anyone, and even if they had 1,000 followers, I would just go ahead and gift, no questions asked, in the hopes that they would just post. And that really worked out for us, and we were really able to grow organically through Instagram. Now, I think the way we work with influencers has changed a lot over time. It was also nice when it was just taking a picture with the product was enough. Now it's all about what video, and coming up with a hook and a body and a call to action at the end, and constantly trying to compete with amazing content online and keep eyes on it. So I think content has really changed over time. But I also think now, we've been talking about UGC, or we're going to move on to UGC, but really what has always worked for us, and again, maybe by chance, I never had budget for production. Everything we always did was at home or in my own bathroom, and everything has always felt very UGC and native to the feed, and I think that built trust and loyalty.
Fantastic. And how would you say the landscape's changed with influencers in terms of creating content for brand awareness versus creating it for sales and revenue?
For us, the landscape has changed more. We're still a fairly small business. I don't have huge budget for influencer collaborations, and for me the landscape has changed now, and maybe it's also because our following's growing. You know, in the early stage I could send a message to an influencer, say, you know, we're a really small business, would you like some, and they would post. Now there's higher budgets involved, which for us is really tricky too, because we never know, as well as the budget for the actual content itself, you've then got to pay for the ad, and you never know if it might hit. I mean, we launch so many different creatives, and different ones get all the budget, and some of them don't work. And if you've already paid £1,000 for that piece of content, as well as £1,000 for a month of usage rights, it's a lot of money for a small business like ours. So we've really changed the way we work in terms of content creation for ads. We now gift micro-influencers or even customers, give them a small brief, and we actually do all the editing on our side. So while we say we use UGC content, we're not really using the user-generated content. We are doing the editing on our side, taking that content from very micro creators or customers, gifting them with a really nice gift, and then using that as the UGC content and using that as the ad too.
Brilliant. Well, I think it's been very interesting to hear about celebrity UGC and gifting platforms. So thank you all for being here today. And that is the end of this panel. Thank you.